when you see the people on the stage in the India coalition, you must realize that more people from the majority community vote for us than vote for the BJP. 60% of India votes for us. 40% of India votes for them. Right? So this idea that the majority community is voting for the BJP, this is a wrong idea. The majority community actually votes more for us than they vote for them. Right? They do polarize society. They divide society. They spread hatred in society. And that is their mechanism. They also happen to have very good relationships with the most powerful, richest crony capitalists in the land, who finance them, support them, help them do what they do. And so this is the architecture that stands behind the BJP. The idea that Mr. Narendra Modi is orchestrating this thing is a gross simplification. Mr. Narendra Modi is an instrument of the architecture. And I'm pretty confident that the RSS can get rid of Narendra Modi in 5 minutes if they want to, right? It is a structure that is doing this. And that structure is now a threat to Indian democracy. So we are committed to fighting that structure. What are the broader elements? The first thing is the gross inequality that is taking place in India, right? Few business people who are billionaires. The third richest person on the planet was Indian, and 90% of India going back into poverty, right? So that's the first thing. The second thing is we have to solve what I was talking about earlier. We keep talking about economic growth. You read the newspapers about economic growth, right? Have you ever read in the newspaper next to the economic growth question the employment question? Has anybody in the newspaper said, wait a minute, we are growing at 7%, 8%, but we have the highest unemployment rate in 40 years? That's a much more interesting question to me. Because we can grow at 9% and give none of you jobs. Right? That's what's happening. Right? So that's the second big question. And the third question that is very close to my heart is the large mass, the real power of India is in the lower castes, the other backward castes, these communities. And they are not given any space in the governance of India. They're not given any space in corporate India. They're not given any space anywhere. And that to me is a crime. So those would be the central thrusts of how we would think about it. The final thing I would say is that one way to look at India is that it is making a transition from rural to urban. And the largest migration of people from rural to urban in human history ever is taking place in India and China. Right? And if we're going to be making this transition, this is a frightening transition for a lot of people. So we need to give them the basic minimum architecture to make this transition safely. What does that mean? That we spend a serious amount of money on education. We spend a serious amount of money on healthcare. That government does not abrogate responsibility for healthcare and education. And that we provide a minimum floor where India commits to all its people that no matter what happens, you can simply not go below that floor. We will give you a minimum income below which no matter what happens, you're not going to go. But, when I talk to students, especially the Indian students here, and the students who are not from India, the injustice that the caste system in India does, the pain and trauma that the caste system in India causes is beyond anything I know anywhere else in the world. And so I see my politics as challenging the idea that there should be this caste order in India, that there should be this permanent hierarchy in India, and that some people, should have access to all the institutions, all the structures, and other people should just live a life of poverty and misery. So this would be the framework that the Indian coalition would be talking about and thinking about.